Wonderful. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello, Ching. How are you?
I'm okay. So great to see you.
And you as well.
We haven't seen each other enough, because this crazy time.
Even though we live in the same building.
I know. So I wanted to introduce you to our viewers. This is Cynthia Taylor. Cynthia is my neighbor. Not only she's my neighbor, we live in the same building. And she's a mother, she's a wife, and she's a lawyer. And the reason I feature Cynthia today is that I found out Cynthia was affected with the virus. That was like a month or more ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So from her own Facebook timeline. And then from time to time, I check on her. And then, so I would like her to share some of her experience with us, because this is such a special time, special crisis, and everyone is affected. So Cynthia, tell us a little bit about how are you doing now?
Now I'm doing really good. I believe I am completely 100% recovered. I even had the antibody testing last week, which came out positive, which doesn't assure I have immunity because the doctors aren't really sure if the antibodies mean you have immunity. However, many doctors are assuming that because that's how other viruses have behaved. So, I at least think hoping that I have immunity for at least a year,
That's good.
or two, or until they get a vaccine.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about at the very beginning, which is when you feel this symptoms.
Felt it coming on. Okay, I remember exactly. It was March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. And I woke up and I was fine. I worked for a few hours. And then in the afternoon, I felt very tired. So I took a nap, which lasted a long time, like 2 or 3 hours. And then I got up and I went to my guitar lesson. I'm a novice beginner guitar player at my age, which is, by the way, an absolutely wonderful thing to do, is to learn an instrument later on in life. For those of us who, are of a certain age, I recommend it highly. So I went to the guitar lesson and I came home and I was fine. I did feel a little, maybe like I had a fever. So I took my temperature and it was only 99. So I didn't think that much about it. Then the next 2 days I had just like a cough and a runny nose, and I thought I just chalked it up to allergies because the crocuses were coming up then. So that would be Wednesday, Thursday of that week. And then by Friday, I couldn't get out of bed. And I knew that something was wrong. And so basically for the next 17 days, I was in bed.
Oh my God.
So the symptoms of COVID vary by individual. I know you hear a lot on the news to look for fever, cough, dry cough, shortness of breath. But I actually never got the cough or the shortness of breath. So I did have a fever every single day for 14 days and super tired, like sleeping 16, 17 hours a day, having absolutely no energy. And I was very lucky that it didn't go into my lungs, but it did go into my GI tract. So I had a lot of symptoms around that. And it was very hard to get medical care. I probably like 3 or 4 days into it, I called my primary care doctor, who would only talk to me on the phone. They weren't making any appointments. And he said that I was too young to be tested because I wasn't over the age of 60. And so to just treat it like the flu. And if things got any worse, to call him back. And the thing with COVID is it lasts about 2 weeks, and you do get a break in the middle where it feels like you're starting to get better. So I experienced that day, which was like a week later, I started to feel a little better. I even took an online guitar class that day. And then when it comes back, the second week, it comes back with a bigger punch than the first time. And then you start to think to yourself, oh my goodness, what's going on? Because usually when you get the flu, you have it for a week and it's done. You have a cold, it's starting to taper off at the end of a week, 10 days, but this was like getting worse. So I got very nervous. So I called my doctor again, who told me to go to urgent care. So I went down to City MD on 104th Street. I know there's probably a lot of viewers who aren't from New York, but not that far from us. And again, I was told not only could I get tested because I was under 60, but I don't have any underlying conditions. And those were the only people they were testing. So he gave me a flu test, said that I did not have the flu, assume I have COVID, and basically go home. So, we just went home. Everybody's just going home and treating themselves. And the sad thing about that is people are afraid to go into the hospital. I can tell you a story about my cousin Cheryl, who is just recovering from the virus now. When I spoke to her last week, she was in the second week, and she couldn't breathe. It had gone into her lungs, and she had even had a chest x-ray the week before, and they basically said, well, they tested her for COVID. It came out negative, but that's not unusual. 15% of COVID tests do come out negative. So they said, you probably have bacterial pneumonia, so they sent her home with antibiotics, but unfortunately, they didn't work. So she was getting worse. So I said, Cheryl, you have to go to the ER. And her response to me was saddening because she said, no, because if I go to the ER, I'm going to go on a ventilator and I'll die alone. But if I stay home, I'll die at home with my husband. And thankfully, a couple days later, she turned the corner by some miracle. So we don't have to worry about her now. But those are the choices that people are having to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened? Hi, Ching, I can't hear you or see you at this point.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I pushed the wrong button. Sorry.
Okay.
So I was trying because our name's supposed to be down there. For some reason, it's not. So anyway, so at certain point, so are there a manual or are there how do you know what to do with yourself? Like when you come home to take care of yourself, like, so are you just rely on the public information or?
Yeah, I mean, well, basically, all you can really do is take Tylenol because there is no treatment. And you obviously want to stay hydrated because you have these fevers that go on for days and they spike up at night. I was very lucky that I had my husband here who, was able to bring food for me. But because he is over 60 with underlying health conditions, he was a very, he would not come near me. When he dropped off the tray and picked it up was the only time I saw him. And he wore gloves and a mask. And we only have one bathroom in the apartment. So he basically followed me around with the Clorox wipe for 2 weeks. Seriously. And he cleaned off everything I touched when I left the bedroom, which I was not allowed to leave the bedroom except to go to the bathroom. And if I dared come into the kitchen or the living room, my son and my husband would yell at me, go back. Bedroom. So, but you lose your taste of smell and your sense of smell and sense of taste. So you can't eat anything anyway. I mean, and because I had the GI issue, I couldn't hold anything down. So it was just like a lot of broth and crackers and things like that.
Yeah. So now, do you emotionally during this whole thing, Well, how did you feel? Did you feel scared, or did you feel depressed, or how did you feel
No, while I
at the
was
very beginning?
going through it,
Yeah.
I was just so sick that I didn't really care, or I wasn't thinking about anything.
Uh-huh.
You know how it is
Uh-huh.
when you get really sick. You just like all I focused on was like, when am I going to get better? When am I going to get
Mm,
better? And
mm,
especially that midweek where they give the COVID gives you that false hope that you are getting better, and then only to get slammed back down again. That was hard. But I think, I just willed myself to get better. I said, I have a lot to live for, and I'm not going to die. So
mhm,
that helped. But it was after that that I started it to hit me. So by the time I was able to leave the house after 17 days, now it was the first week of April, and the weather was beautiful. The apple tree blossoms and the tulips and the daffodils were
mhm,
out, and so I
mm,
was taking walks, and I was just so happy to be alive that um, I was happy. I was just like, wow, this is great. I'm recovered. I feel good. It's spring.
mhm,
And that lasted for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that,
mm,
when I started to hear about people I know that
mm,
were expiring from the virus, when I started to
mhm,
hear about relatives who were working on the front lines as COVID floors without proper PPE, when I started
mhm,
to hear about other relatives like my cousin Cheryl starting to get sick, I do
mm,
believe I started to have panic attacks and
mm,
some I would call mild PTSD.
mm,
So yeah, I've had to be in touch with my doctor about that. And also I think the whole idea of being quarantined inside,
mm,
unable to see your friends, unable to hug people outside of your family.
mm,
It's great that we can talk to each other on the computer. Imagine if this happened
mm,
30 years ago, how awful it would
mm.
be, or how it was for the people in 1918, how awful that must have been. But it doesn't replace human connection. Um,
Mhm.
and so, I think we're going to be in this position for a while. I think we're going to see waves of this coming until they find a treatment or a vaccine. And then I also want to mention it was a bit of a long recovery. Like those 2 weeks when I was happy and I was taking my walks, I was very winded. I did not have a lot of strength, and I had to build myself up just to walk like 10 blocks and not be out of breath. So
Mm,
don't think when you get over it that you're just going to go back to work the next day or whatever you do, because
mm,
it
mm.
takes a lot. It really does weaken you, throughout your whole body.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more. I always worried about what to do in our environment, meaning we live in Manhattan. We only have one bathroom, most of us, and how to deal with when one family member gets sick. I would have no idea. There's no textbook. I went online trying to look for it, just in case my family member gets sick or I get sick. So maybe tell us a little bit more about like how you deal, other than Tom just wipe everything off, which is miraculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was a big part of it. I mean, when I got sick, he went out to the hardware store because, you can't, it's hard to find disinfectants and gloves and masks. But a little known secret for those of you in Manhattan looking for these things, those little small hardware stores on all the corners, they have supplies. So he came home with like 2 bottles of Tylenol, a box of gloves, Clorox wipes, and they kept their distance from me. My son and my husband only talked to me through the doorway, through the bedroom doorway. And my bed's kind of like closer to the window, so the farthest away from the doorway. Um, I did not go near them. They did not go near me. And every time my husband did have to come in to give me
Mm,
food, he always had the
mm,
gloves and the mask on.
mm,
And anytime I went out into the kitchen or the living room, even though I wasn't supposed to, I also
mm,
had gloves and a mask on. So, I mean, you have to be really diligent. And I think probably the main thing was he constantly wiped down every doorknob, every handle. Every time I used the bathroom, he wiped everything down. And so I really credit him for preventing anyone else in the family from getting it.
Yeah, he's a very diligent person, seems. And
right. And he had to stay home from work in order to do that, because I would not be able to get out of bed to feed myself, and I would have got my hands all over everything, which would have, not been good. So,
right.
Yeah.
So for the from the timeline wise, once you feel better physically yourself, and when is the time for you to have the sort of a more freely to be with your family? Like when would you stop shedding the virus?
Okay, well, what they were saying at the time was 14 days 3 days after your last fever, which for me was 14 days, you can start interacting with people. So it was 17 days that I stayed in the bedroom, and Tom slept on the couch for 17 nights. And it was only after that time that I felt safe. He didn't totally feel safe, but we did, and we just resumed from there.
Wow. It's amazing. So how does that affect Evan, can I ask? Is he okay?
Like his father, he's a man of little words. So it's hard for me to get a lot of information out of him. But I think the main way it affected him was before I got the virus, he was not taking the virus that seriously. School had just closed down the day before. And, he's like, this is media hype. There's no way this is, going to go that far. This is nothing more than the flu. He was kind of listening to a lot of the conservative talking points on this. And, he was going outside, and I was saying to him, you cannot leave the house without a mask and gloves on, because this thing is very contagious from what I'm hearing. And at first he didn't take me seriously, but after he saw how sick I was, he totally changed his way of moving around in the world. And, we do let him go out every day for a walk, because he's only 17. And, for him to be trapped in the house like this and he misses his friends. He doesn't see his friends outside. They think they're always on their Snapchat and the other things they do. And the online school has, although not an ideal way to earn an education, it at least has provided structure for the kids. And he has told me that he appreciates that. He appreciates that it gives him a sense of purpose to wake up in the morning with something to do.
Yeah. And this is a segue of one of the picture you posted on Facebook says there's 4 kids there are going to college. Is including Evan, or he's already?
No, he's a junior, but most of the kids who are in that picture are actually kids who grew up in Morningside as well. They just happen to be a year older than him. And they're seniors now, and they're graduating from high school. And unfortunately, they're not going to have the milestones that they would have at this time of year with the prom and the graduation. And we don't know what September holds for them. Will they be allowed to come back and live indoors and crowded cafeterias? Things are up in the air for them. And
do you have any experience? I know Evan is young, but the whole process of application or visiting college or about to go into college, that the whole thing is upside down, right?
The whole thing is upside down. Basically, you can do virtual visits, which we've done some of those, which is nice. The admissions office does a nice job giving you like a virtual tour of the campus, and then they have some students who are admission people talk and answer your questions. So that has been useful. The whole testing thing has been turned upside down. Most of the schools are going test optional because the March SAT, the May SAT, and the June SAT have been canceled. So if you didn't take the SAT in November or December, which most juniors did not, no one has an SAT score at this point. So we're hoping that it'll be open again in August and September. And the other thing is kids who were about to win state championships in robotics and these other types of extracurricular activities who had kind of made it to the top of their game weren't able to finish and, be able to say on their applications, we won the state championship. So, I think I have to say, I think the kids have been real troopers overall. I mean, from the other mothers I talked to, I think they're handling it almost better than we are. And I'm not quite sure why. Although Evan did come in yesterday and say
they don't want to go to school.
Yeah, maybe. But I know they miss their friends. So Evan came to me yesterday and he said, "What am I going to do all summer? Because once school ends, I will have nothing to do, and it's a long summer." And I said, I tried to come up with all kinds of positive spins, but he's always like, "Mom, you don't know anything. You don't know what's going to happen." I said, yeah, you're right. I can't give you an answer. We're just going to have to take it day by day.
Yeah.
And so I think there was a couple things I wanted to touch on about that because it's really I think I got the virus because I was in some highly dense gatherings a week or two before, a few different times.
Right.
And it seems from everything I've been reading and watching on TV that that's where it starts. You get one infected person who then goes into a large gathering, whether it be a school or a church or a courthouse, and then it spreads like wildfire. So even as we start to reopen, which is going to happen slowly, though it's happening faster in some states, and I have a lot of opinions on that, because I don't think you should reopen while your numbers are still going up. You have to have a reopening plans once you reach that apex and the numbers start going down. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about that this is just the flu, that this is this isn't somehow going to affect me because I live in Florida and the sun kills the virus. There's so much misinformation out there. But I truly believe that the only way we're going to beat this is through continued social distancing and wearing of masks. Even now in the city, I see even some of our neighbors not wearing masks, and it really surprises me because you're not wearing the mask to protect yourself. You're wearing the mask to protect other people. So you really have to have a community mindset about this and say, it's not just about me, it's about my neighbors. And it's about, even strangers on the street. So what I do is I have these masks that I just wear on my neck all the time. And I actually bought these upstate in I live in Bethel, which is where the Woodstock Festival was. So they still have that hippie vibe there, that like a tourist type of attraction. So everything's tie-dye. So I got my mask, and I just put on my face like this. And this is made out of cotton, and it's very breathable. And it has a tie-dye design. So then when you're not wearing it, you put it down here. It looks like a nice scarf. And you can even wear it as a headband if you want, to get the hair out of your face. Right. So it's multifunctional, and it's very lightweight. And and I think that's really, really important.
I appreciate you saying that, because it's on my agenda to ask you, like, how important do you think this mask wearing? And also, I don't know if you want to comment on this, as some people said, China had the virus first in January. My whole family has experienced that. My brother has been quarantined for 4 months now, and they're very religiously wearing masks. And then here in New York, I cannot say any other parts of the United States, it took a while for people to start to sort of wake up and wanting to use masks, including myself.
Right,
It's like
right.
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is this a cultural thing? It's like if people say, is it American, it's not Americans' culture to wear mask. What do you say?
Right. Well, it's not Americans' culture to do anything that they don't want to do. I mean, we're all about freedom, and we're all about the government's not going to tell me what to do. I think the Asian cultures tend to be more disciplined, throughout everything they do in their lives, whether it be education or, medical care. And so because you see people in Asia wearing masks even before COVID, if they thought they weren't feeling well. Like how nice is that that they're concerned about the other people who are around them in a crowded city like Tokyo or Beijing or something. So so I do think a lot of it's cultural. And if you also notice that in the blue states that got COVID first, and we did jump on board first. Number one, because we're Democrats by the majority of us anyway are Democrats, and Democrats tend to be more community minded in general, and so it didn't take us long to get on board. I think it's the middle of the country, the red states, who are really having trouble with this idea of government out of my life. The government's not going to tell me what to do. And they're throwing, they're doing these, fascist or, racist and anti, white supremacist rallies, and they're not wearing masks and they're carrying their guns and they think it's all great. But what I think is going to happen is now that those states have basically reopened and you can go to the tattoo parlor and you can go get your nails done and you can go on the beaches, wait 3 weeks. They're going to get whacked the same way we got whacked. And I feel bad. I feel bad that that's going to happen to them, and really bad for the healthcare workers who are going to take the brunt of it. I think overall our government has showed at least at the federal level, has shown very poor leadership. And it's, like I said, it's hard to get facts because everything is changing every day. I am going to put in a plug for Governor Andrew Cuomo from New York, because every day at 11:30 he has a news conference, and that is shown nationally. I know CNN shows it, PBS shows it, and he's basing our whole reopening plan not on politics, not on pressure from groups that feel a certain way, but on the facts and the science. And that's, to me, he has shown incredible leadership, incredible strength. He's fighting back against a lot of pressure. When the local mayors and town supervisors call him and they say, my constituents are knocking at my door saying, I've got to reopen my business, I've got to get back to the work. What do I say? We've got to reopen. And Governor Cuomo says, no, you just blame it on me. You just tell them, I'm sorry, but I have to follow the governor's orders. And I just think that that's a kind of integrity and, and honesty that we need more of in politics, but unfortunately, we don't see.
Yeah. Yeah, he's becoming very popular, and he talks with authority, but very thoughtfulness and truthfulness most of the time. And he's getting a lot of great feedback. So a lot of people are asking him, "Are you going to consider running for president?" Even his brother.
I mean, I don't think he will, at least now, because
he said no. He said no. Yeah, I know. And I love his anecdotes. About his daughters and his mother and his brother. He's really got a real sense of humor too. Yeah. Funny. So we have Nick ask you a question. Has you thought about donating? What's the word?
Convalescent plasma.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I mean, I just got my coronavirus. I just got the antibody positive test like a few days ago. But yeah, that is the next thing I would like to do. Absolutely. Because if I can help somebody else, why not?
That's great. So I wanted to rewind back to the discovery part. I still feel so puzzled and so discouraged if this is still going on, that you feel sick, you went to the urgent care, and then they do not test you because you are not, you know, XYZ age. I mean that sounds to me is it's so strange and not scientifically being treated. So tell me about it. What do you think? Can are we going to change that, or have we already changed?
I think we've begun to change that. I mean, remember, I got it really early, right in the middle of March, and they didn't have enough tests, so they were saving them for the people who really needed it. And I understood that, so I didn't argue with the doctor when he said, I'm not going to give it to you. Because if it wasn't the flu, I knew it was that, because what else could it be? Like, when you're that sick and it's not the flu, then, you know, and I had a lot of the symptoms. The fever's like the main one. It was like, who has a fever for like 2 weeks? I mean, that's like basically, you know, unheard of. So that's the telltale sign, plus the loss of taste and smell. That's another big telltale sign.
That must be scary, huh? Lost the taste and smell.
Well, yeah. I mean, the smell I didn't even notice because I mean, I wasn't going anywhere, but it was the taste. I mean, I'm like, oh, this bowl of soup looks good, and then I'd be like, oh. You know, my mother had a stem cell transplant last year, and she couldn't taste either for 3 months.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Wow.
Oh, but I did lose 10 pounds, so I guess that was the bright side of the whole thing. And I've been trying to lose 10 pounds for 4 years.
You want to lose weight?
Yeah. I hope I don't gain it back real quick.
Yeah. You have a question from Dr. Ching Juhl.
Oh, yes.
Did you see it?
Am I doing any nutrition prevention now? No, I can't say that I am. I mean, because I'm not working now. You know, due to the virus, I don't have a job to go to. So I'm basically without structure every day. And for somebody who worked 9 to 5 for 30 years, to not have structure, to wake up every day and it's a Saturday, and it's like, what am
every day Saturday.
So I have to say, I haven't been eating well. I mean, I eat my yogurt with blueberries in the morning. You know, I might have like a peanut butter jelly sandwich in the afternoon and some dinner. But it's just kind of like just going through the motions of food preparation and eating. I'm not making anything that's really super nutritious or healthful. I mean, I guess I should be doing that, but I'm having a hard time getting motivated to do a lot of things, and cooking and eating is one of them.
Yeah, so you maybe when maybe John can call you. He's very on top of the nutrition and the vitamin stuff for his patient. He likes his patient to take vitamin C, vitamin D, especially if we don't go out that much now.
Right.
But the sun is coming out though. So yeah. So maybe, yeah. And
well, I do take my vitamins and my other medications. I find going outside for a walk every day to be extremely useful to your mental health.
Yeah. I agree.
I think this has affected me more on a mental health basis than it has on a physical basis, if you look past the 6 weeks. And, just simple things like Starbucks is open on 114th for mobile pickup. They just hand you your cup, at the door. I mean, just like having a reason to walk down Broadway. Pink Berry's also open. And, so it kind of like, gives me a destination. I'm going to go to Starbucks. And then there's that long hill you have to walk up,
Right.
So I feel like that's really important, to get out every day and take a walk, just so, you don't feel so confined.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like back in the day when my parents would ground me, like, you can't leave the house. Like, what? I've got to be able to leave the house.
Yeah. And you're in the job, in the line of job is very determined, very decision making, right? And deal
Yeah.
with people. I mean, I can
Right.
say you're a lawyer, right?
Yes,
you're,
yes, of
you're
course.
very, very modest. But you're a lawyer and you work, 9 to 5. I don't have 9 to 5 job for a long time. I
Right.
used to play in orchestra, so I have to be there at 10 in the morning. But even that, I stay home most of time and do work in my own living room and my studio. But yeah, so like you said, going out for a walk is very important because I at certain hour, I don't know, especially my situation in the morning, like when I wake up, I start to worry.
Yeah.
Like the worry is not because I want to worry. It's like the brain has its own mechanism, just started to circle around, from little things as much as feeding the cat to uh, laundry hasn't done to bigger things, like website hasn't changed or update or whatever, or I haven't, make notes on this meeting on that. So I don't know. So then today, actually, before I talked to you an hour ago, I actually took a walk because I was stir crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really difficult. Yeah. So, okay. So how about, can you please give us another treat? Play us something
You want me to
on the
play you
guitar?
something? All right. Well, before I play you something,
Yeah.
that was like the next thing I wanted to talk about. It's like,
Okay. Sure.
um, well, for one thing, what you were saying is like you got this to do, laundry, this, that, and like what I was saying, it's hard to get motivated. Um, I listened to a psychologist a couple of weeks ago talking about like this is so unprecedented and so different from anything that any of us have lived through in our lifetimes, except for the couple people who are 102 today who were born during the pandemic of 1918 but don't remember it.
Mm.
So this is all new for all of us. And he said, and that was a huge sense of relief when I heard him say this. He said, look, if you just get up and take a shower and get dressed and, just have even that little bit of structure in your day, you're doing enough. Like, don't put so much pressure on yourself because you might have all this free time of like, oh, I got to do this, because I've been doing that. Oh, I got to clean out my closets. I got to wash the baseboards, like all kinds of craziness. And then I'm like, no, you don't have to do any of that. But I'm looking for the few things in my life that give me joy every day. So that's spending time with my son. That's going for walks, and that's playing the guitar. So let me tell you about my guitar experience. So I started taking guitar last year in my mid-50s, and I had taken some piano lessons as a child, but I never, went very far with it. I have a little bit of music theory background. But then I found the New York City Guitar School, which is down on West 30th in Midtown, and they also have some locations out in the outer boroughs. And not only do they teach children, they have a very, very strong adult program. And once the pandemic started, they switched all of their classes over to Zoom. And so we've been able to continue with our classes. They are offering free workshops right now. They're offering $20 private lessons right now. So I just wanted to give them a plug. It's New York City, NYC If you're one of these people who collect guitars but never play them, or you've always wanted to play guitar, it's never too late to start. I take a semi-private lesson with a woman who's 62, and we really, really enjoy it. And I want to just give a shout out to my teacher, Vinny Damasi, and I've also studied with Eliana Delage and Tia Vincent Clark. So
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I just really wanted to say that to have a hobby right now is really brought a lot of joy to my life.
That's nice. Yes, that's wonderful. Great. So would you like to play something for us?
Okay, now I know you are an amazing accomplished violist, and your son is a student at Juilliard. So you have to understand, I'm a beginner. So be patient with me.
Of course,
of course. All right. So the song I'm going to play, it's just a minute. It's called a love song, and it was originally written by a band called The Cure, I believe, back in the 80s. But Adele did a beautiful cover of it, and she is, to me, a voice of the ages, just a beautiful, beautiful singing voice, and I love her music. So I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to sing because I can't sing like Adele. And so I'm going to do it. Okay.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and maybe I can only play 3 chords. That's about it. It's such a beautiful
instrument. You can play a lot of songs with 3 chords.
Yeah.
3 chords.
1, 4, 5.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. So are you religiously practice almost every day?
I do. I religiously practice every day. Yes.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you.
Like 45 minutes to an hour, which is basically all I really have time for. But
yeah. So I hope some of our neighbors are watching us. I just I don't know. I find it's helpful for me to speak with you. You know, I know you, and it's not like so and so is sick, somewhere else really far away. Someone that's so close to you, and then it's the first-hand story. And I find very inspiring from your storytelling. And you're very constantly posting things. You're very active on Facebook, which is great.
I am now because I have a lot of time on my hands. I have been more active, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. So that's great, and I appreciate the openness of you talking about it, because I actually, back in my mind, I was thinking, if I ever had a virus, I would feel hesitate to tell people, because I was afraid people would not want to see me or talk to me. You see what I mean? I had that.
Yeah, no, and that, I am a very open person generally, and some people would say too much information, but whatever, oversharer. But I think it's important to share our stories and communicate. That's what makes us human. So that did happen to me initially. I would get on the elevator and we'd be talking. And I said, well, I had the virus. And then people would back up. And then I realized, I probably shouldn't tell people I had the virus. In fact, what happened was this repair guy came to my house 2 weeks ago to fix my refrigerator.
Yeah.
And he came in and, I said, look, I already had the virus, but I'm going to put my mask on anyway, and my glove to make you feel, comfortable. And he said, okay, I'll be right back. He left the apartment and he didn't come back. So I call his office and they said, well, you told you told him you have COVID, so he left. No, I told him I had COVID.
You see, that's also people don't realize.
Yeah.
Had or
Yes.
have,
Right.
they thought you're contagious.
Yeah, and they're like, well, we can't make him go back. He feels uncomfortable. I'm like, okay. And then I realized, you know what?
Yeah.
So, and I also wear my masks, even though I don't believe that I'm contagious, and I don't believe that, and I believe I have immunity. I am, wearing my mask because I know it makes people nervous when they see you without a mask.
Yeah. So, but I think this conversation is good that, hopefully people who are close to you or people, your neighbors or in our building or our entire compound, and they understand like you're not dangerous, anymore.
I don't think so.
And you're a hot potato now. You're hot because you can save other people's lives. Right?
Yeah, hopefully I can when I donate the plaza. And thank you, NR, for thanking me. That was nice.
Yeah,
thank
of course.
You, Lucia. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. So anyway, so now, any predictions about how long life will become so-called normal, like school might open? Do you know?
Well, I think New York is in a really good shape because of the way Cuomo's dealing with it. And, he's going to reopen very cautiously. He has like 4 predictors. I don't have them memorized, but one of them is like, the hospital rate, the infection rate, and also as long as all that stuff is going down, we can reopen. But we're going to have to reopen with social distancing and wearing masks. I think the school situation is going to be difficult because, the New York City school system has over 1 million kids in it.
Yeah.
And I do think we're going to be moving to some online learning. So maybe maybe cutting the classes in half, and one class does online learning, and then the other class comes in. The other half of the class comes in. I can see moving in that kind of direction. And Cuomo has Bill Gates on this. Bill Gates is supposed to be working with, on this whole idea of using technology. I'm a strong believer that technology cannot replace the classroom. But I think during this time, it may have to play more of a role. And the other thing that is happening in New York is that Bloomberg, through his philanthropy, is organizing an army of tracers. So when someone tests positive, because we are ramping up the testing, it's not like it was when I was denied a test in March. So assuming we have enough tests, if someone is test positive, then they have these tracers that Bloomberg is paying for and hiring, that will go out and talk to them and ask the person who has COVID, who just tested positive, who have you been with in the last few days? And then try to contact those people and test them. And then anybody who's been tested will have to isolate. And supposedly they're going to be making some hotels available for isolation. This is a lot of work on a grand scale, but New York is committed to it, thankfully, and so are the surrounding states, because as Cuomo points out, you can't reopen New York without making sure Connecticut and New Jersey are also in the same place, because we have too much crossover and too much the commuters going back and forth. So Connecticut and New Jersey basically have to be at the same place we are before we can reopen. The other thing Cuomo did, which is great, is he's having the subways disinfected every night, because ridership is down 92%. In order to get people back on the trains, I haven't ridden public transportation since it started. I mean, I walk everywhere. Thankfully, I can get everything I need within walking distance. But in order to get people confident in riding the subways again, I thought that was a brilliant idea on his part. And also, unfortunately, we have so many homeless that have been using the trains because no one's on them right now. And people aren't going to ride the trains if, there's a homeless person on the car who doesn't have a mask on, such and such. And hopefully this, by removing them from the trains when the stations are closed from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. every day, we can get those homeless people services as well as getting them off the trains. So But that's New York, and that's the Northeast. And so in our New England states don't have a lot of cases because, you know, in a lot of those, even upstate New York, there's more cows than people. So it's not as big of an issue as it is downstate. But those states in the middle of the country and then in the South that are reopening everything while cases are going up, that's going to be a disaster. And a lot of people are going to die this summer because of that. You know, so it all depends on us. The federal government isn't going to help us. It's really up to your state governor. And if your state governor is not on board with this testing, tracing, and isolation, then I think you're in trouble. You know, you're going to have to be super careful. And even Cuomo said today that still with everything we're doing, 600 new cases, we're getting 600 new hospitalizations a day. And he said most of those people are saying, I've been home. I'm not an essential worker. I have not been riding public transportation. So where are these people getting it? This is how contagious it appears to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm very worried about what's going to happen this summer in these states where freedom comes before health.
Yeah.
You know, that we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. But I think until we get a treatment or a vaccine, this is going to be in our lives. And I don't think we'll ever go back to normal. Like I wrote, you know, there was a meme that I sent around today that said, remember when we used to eat cake after somebody had blown out their candles on it?
Yeah.
Good times. I bet you we never go back to that. No, really, I'm serious. Those things are
That's scary. Yeah.
And then our kids will say, remember when we could blow candles out on a cake before the pandemic?
You're right. Many activities, such simple pleasure, it will change forever, you know.
Winter.
Yeah, and Winter says hello. And then in the summertime, it is a problem because kids, you know, are off, weather is warm, and having them not have a structure or going into a camp or going to a summer school, it's tough, you know. So Sean is very disappointed, and he got into a really nice music thing. It's called something West Academy of Music or something. It's like a total scholarship, total fellowship for 9 weeks, you know, play chamber music, play orchestra, having lessons and stuff. And they canceled, you know. So
yeah, I know. It's very disappointing for the kids.
Yeah.
I really feel bad for them, you know, because they're not old enough to really have any real perspective. And
yeah.
I mean, it's hard on us. Imagine how it's hard on them.
Right. Maybe hopefully we'll find them some work to do, you know. go work, be a delivery boy.
Well, you know, Evan has worked the last 3 summers, and I upstate, and you know, he worked in a coffee shop the last 2 summers, and
good.
And I said, well, why don't you get a job? And he's like, Mom, it's like all these people are going to come in with COVID. Could possibly come in with COVID. And he's like, no, I have to. And I said, well, yeah, you know what? You're right. Maybe it's not safe for you to work this summer. You know, he's also going to take one of these academic things that, you know, are offered. Like you get college credit, but it's going to be online, I think. I don't think they're going to meet in person. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe research kind of work or something, huh? Yeah. Online work. Yeah.
Just a college course for college credit, just to put on the college resume. You know how that goes.
Yeah. Well, great. So it's been a wonderful treat to have you. We're almost up to time. Yeah.
Thank
do you have? Yeah.
Me.
No, I always wanted to. I've been thinking about, you know, contacting you for a while, and you know, I wasn't sure your health is up to it.
Yeah,
so,
I'm
good. But yeah, you're good. Great. So thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to give us a conclusion statement? You're so good at what you say, you know.
I really just think the best thing is well, don't listen to fake news. Listen to the scientists. Listen to the data. I think the best person putting out science and data right now is Cuomo. has his news conference at 11:30, 7 days a week. I think the rest of it, especially, the task force, that Trump started, he's disbanding it anyway, but he basically found a way to silence Fauci and Birx, who were, the experts. So I just give a grain of salt to anything a politician's saying other than Cuomo. So, just be careful what you're reading and, and what you're taking in, and, verify the source, and continue social distancing and wearing masks. And I think we can find a way forward where, we can go out in the park together. I mean, I went for a walk with my girlfriend last week, and we just, we stayed 6 feet apart. I could still hear her, and we kept our masks down, but every time we passed somebody, we put our masks up. And, that was out in the country. It's a little easier to do that here than it is on a crowded New York City street. But, we all have to make adjustments. And not just for ourselves, but for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, Ching.
Wonderful, Cynthia. So I'll see you in the elevator. Or laundry room.
Okay.
We should have coffee,
Definitely.
when everything
we
gets
can.
a little. Yeah. We'll have coffee, 6 inches, 6 foot away. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Say hello to Tom for me. Say hello to Evan.
I will.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Everybody. Thank you for watching.